You found some very old life. Good job. It's 830 million years old, and it's in a salty crystal formation from Australia, mate, called Brown's Formation, or the Brown Formation. It's called halite, this crystally stuff, but it's basically sodium chloride, which is salt crystals, because this area in the middle of Australia used to be oceanic, but now it's all dry and crusty. And the researchers, found these little bits of life, which are consistent in size and shape and fluorescent response, inside crystalline structures that had little tiny pockets of water in them. So there's just some fluid in there that they've been hanging out. They've been hanging out in this fluid for 830 million years, which is cool. That's the known age of this formation. And the reason that they know that they definitely aren't from more recently is that they could examine these substances with light. So they used transmitted light and ultraviolet light to look in on these things and see how they fluoresced and what they looked like in terms of shape and colour. So that's really good news for scientific exploration, especially in space. This is Ftrhstry, by the way. It's a time vortex from the next 100 years. Remember the adorable 2020s and 30s and 40s? They were such a simple time. And one of the discoveries you made in this simple time was that life could have come from other places. So we may do an entire thing about this on our own another day. And if we did, we'll put it somewhere here, now-ish. The possibility is real that life on Earth emerged from asteroid collisions with Earth, which carried enough of the ingredients of life to start the whole DNA party here or there, depending on when or where you're watching this. So just recently, in 2022, they found the last 2 of the 5 necessary ingredients for DNA and RNA to exist in the Earth ecosphere from asteroids. They found these things on asteroid material. So that suggests, given that you've got evidence of organic compounds hitching rides on asteroids way back into the millions of years range, there's a strong possibility that life on Earth is a lot like life other ways around the galaxy, way far away life. What do you know about old life? In Earth time, way long ago, the oceans cooled at about 4.4-ish billion years ago, and your earliest sign of life is actually potentially not long after that, 4.28 billion years ago. There's some pretty good fossilized evidence of potential micro life activities on the heat vents of underwater geysers in an ancient sea in Quebec. So that's 4.28 billion years ago is the earliest potential life on Earth. Scientists agree in the 2020s that there is no question that it's at least 3.5 billion years old. So the earliest undisputed evidence is about 3.5 billion years. And there are many examples of that, like at least 48 examples from in that time range of fossilized micro-life activities. So it's not on that timescale so impressive to have an 830 million year old piece of life, but it's still pretty cool. And considering that a 250 million year old bit of life has been revived and turned out to be fully functionally living, it's possible that that 830 million year old bacteria could still be alive. And the way it would be living on is that it would be basically in its own teeny tiny little ecosystem in that fluid trapped inside that salty crystal. It's not a super well understood process in the 2020s, but they have determined with some degree of confidence that radiation could potentially have been minimal for the course of that time, which means that all that life and its DNA wouldn't necessarily have gotten fried up. One really cool place that this plays in future exploration is space astroarchaeobiology, basically. So like life on Mars, there isn't any, unfortunately, currently. But you're going to find out that there was, and you're going to find out that there was life in some other cool places in the solar system that you don't necessarily have a chance of catching that life now. But with a timescale of several 100 million years, that gives you a bit of a window to potentially get a peek at some of the biospheres in our own backyard, way back in time, our back in time yard. I think that's probably enough. Look back to look forward. You might find more answers than you suspect. Future on. Bye.